Okay. It sounds really
Right
loud.
here.
La, 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 la. Hopefully I'm a little bit brighter. All right. Let's see here. I'm going to just type a little bit of information in here until we get our first watcher, and then we'll get going here in just a second. Good morning. Good morning. I'm just going to say this to get the algorithm going. Good morning. Welcome to Astro Insights Live with the Roses. Thank you so much for joining us here for our live astrology for next week. We love algorithms that support us. Okay, let's see here. It feels like a sleepy Sunday out there to me.
It does, with the rain,
Yes,
and
I'm sure the rain is hitting a lot of us, especially the Midwesterners. Okay. Well, I'm going to go ahead and get started, Mel. I know we don't have anybody currently watching, but that's okay. We still got the show must go on. So good morning. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us here at Astro Insights Live. My name is Jennifer Rose, and above me is my sweet wife, Mel Rose, who is an astrologer and who's going to talk with us about next week's astrology. We're going to recap a little bit of last week, and then I'm going to interject some comments or what have you. We're just going to have a little discussion here. And at the end, around 30 to 45 minutes in, we do a tarot card reading to begin your week. So we release astrology information on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Mel has a show called Astrology Today. I'm sorry. I'm being bombarded by noise. Just a little noise. So Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, Mel releases. We're starting around 10 a.m. these days because people are not getting out of bed as early as we do, apparently. So at 10 a.m. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, Mel delivers Astrology Today. On Thursday nights at 7 p.m., Mel and I get together and we do a fun tarot showdown where she and I answer yes or no questions free in the chat for a tarot reading. And most of the time you get a really decent tarot reading for free out of us. So we do this stuff for money too. If you want to find us, you can find us on our website or any of the links attached here. Let us know down in the chat. But I'm Jennifer Rose. I'm going to turn this over to my sweet wife, Mel, so we can go ahead and get started talking about the astrology for next week.
Okay. Happy Sunday, everybody. Welcome to Astrology Insights or Astro Insights. This is where we discuss live the astrology of the coming week. And then in the end of our video, we'll do a live tarot card reading because we really enjoy sharing tarot with you all. So to start off with the week, let's talk about where we are today, where we find ourselves today. It is Sunday, May 25th. The sun moved into Gemini this week, and the moon went into Taurus yesterday. So sun in Gemini, moon in Taurus. It's giving communication and it's giving values. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about those structures, those networks, and also just those things we rely on to feel well supported and well supplied at this time. It's a good time to have a conversation about it, a good time to be checking in with your collaborators and cohorts, making sure we're all getting to the same place we need to be going. So also the moon is a waning crescent. Okay. Tomorrow is the new moon. So we're really in the new of the moon. It's going to be the new moon in Gemini. But before we get there, I want to say, here we are, sun in Gemini, moon in Taurus. Just last night, Saturn moved into Aries for the first time in over 3 decades. And this morning, Mercury is moving over into Gemini for the first time in like a year. But still, these planets are newly in signs, and they are going to have a conversation today. Mercury in Gemini with Saturn in Aries, and they're going to have a conversation about what's practical, about what it is that we do need to feel supported, about what it is that that is our responsibilities, what we need to take accountability for, and it's going to be, you know, air and fire. That's a very active principle. So we want, it's going to be about like, what can I do? What can I do to establish better security, especially for myself? So anything you want to say about that, Jennifer?
Well, I mean, sometimes it's silly talking about information that you already know about, but this has really kind of culminated in my life in a real way. And it is that I've gotten in touch with an old friend, and we both find ourselves trying to begin a new chapter, you know, taking care of our bodies and our mental health. So I think that's pretty fascinating, and kind of talking about how, you know, what we need to do to get there, and how we need to do it, you know, just kind of coming up with a plan. Although I know, you know, like these next 3 months with Saturn and Aries, that's going to dip back into Pisces. So I feel like we've got about 3 months of, you know, planning, figuring it out, getting into a quasi routine before it gets maybe shaken up a little bit. And I think that's the test, right? I think that's where we figure out like, oh, okay, this gets shaken up, but we can go on where normally we might give up. So I'm feeling this energy building and working in real time in my life right now. So I'm welcoming the Saturn and Aries, though, for sure, 100.
Saturn and Aries it's going to be a bit of a relief. You know, Saturn and Pisces was each Saturn transit is about 3 years. That Saturn and Pisces transit really was about how things can fall apart. We have watched that in so many different ways happening over the past few years, and not just over the past few years, but it really seems to have intensified over the past few years, that we see the way like literal things fall apart, the way nation states are vulnerable, the way you know, submarines are vulnerable, the way actual buildings are vulnerable, the way the actual Earth is vulnerable, the way planes, which are supposed to stay in the sky, are vulnerable. So I'm happy to see Saturn going into Aries, and hopefully we can start thinking about a whole new set of ways to just think about what our responsibilities are as individuals and in the community.
That's funny you talk about airplanes. They're supposed to stay in the sky. And I just want to say that made me think of a Seinfeld episode where he's reserving a car, and he shows up for the car to get a reservation. You know, he made a reservation to get the car, and they're like, oh, we don't have any cars. He's like, you don't understand what it means to reserve a car so I can have a car. You know, like the whole point of an airplane is to stay in the air. Right. So we made this, so that was funny, and I don't know why it came to my head, but it was worth saying.
Fair. All right, so I'm going to move on to tomorrow, which is Monday. And tomorrow, what happens first is that the moon moves on into Gemini, which is great because the new moon tomorrow is in Gemini. So this is really when the sun and moon meet up in the sky. From our perspective, they appear to be in the same place at the same time. And it happens once a month. It's called the new moon. And this is our reset. So if you think about the moon cycle from new moon to waxing up to full moon, and then to waning back down to the new moon, you can think of it like breathing, like an in breath and an out breath. From the new moon to the full moon, you're taking a breath in, you're going, and then at that full moon, that's the culmination of your breath, and then you release it. So you're releasing all the way back to the new moon. So this is the time when we're pausing, we're making the transition between breathing out and breathing in. And there's a pause there where we can stop and think. Okay. And I say breathing out, breathing in, but you know, breathing out is letting things go, and breathing in is taking on new things and trying to make more things happen. So, you know, there's a pause there where we can say, okay, I've let all of this go. This is where I am right now. And that's what we're doing with the new moon tomorrow on Gemini. We're pausing to say, this is where I am right now. This is what I have. This is what I need. This is what I desire. And then we can begin to make plans for the next couple of weeks to say, this is what I'm going to acquire, accumulate, and achieve over the next couple of weeks. So that's new moon. And then new moon in Gemini, that's about your collaborators. It's about your team, your cohort, the people that are really going to show up and help you expand on your ideas, who understand what it is that you're trying to do. So when you come back to this reset point tomorrow, when you get that chance to stop letting go, stop breathing out, pause, and take stock of where you are right now. Take stock of who your friends are, your families, your neighbors, your siblings, your cousins, those people who are around you. They are your support network, and they are there to help you achieve what it is that you intend to achieve.
I'm good. I'm just letting you roll. If I have something, I appreciate the pause, though. If you'll pause for me like that, that would be awesome.
Okay. And then also tomorrow, Mercury, again, freshly in Gemini, right? Mercury just moved into Gemini, is going to have a conversation now with Neptune. So today, Mercury has a conversation with Saturn. Tomorrow, Mercury has a conversation with Neptune. And it's the same kind of conversation. It's very cooperative. It's called a sextile, and it's about, sort of like, what can we get going here? And, again, Mercury is in Gemini. It's a conversation. It's in its rulership. It's very powerful right now. And then Neptune in Aries, not quite in its rulership, not the best fit for it. But it gives us this quality of being fiercely committed to some sort of principle, some sort of ethics, some sort of spirituality. Okay, so this is a time tomorrow with that new moon to be talking about sort of what our goals are from the heart, what our goals are spiritually, what our goals are in connection with the rest of life on Earth. All right. It's a good time to be having that conversation. And then we'll move on into Tuesday. And Tuesday, Mercury does another conversation with another big outer planet, and that's going to be Pluto. Now, in this case, it's Mercury and the moon and the sun all in Gemini together. Jupiter's in Gemini as well. And then Pluto's over here in Aquarius. That's all very air. Okay. Gemini is air. So you've got sun, moon, Mercury, Jupiter in air. And then you've got Pluto in Aquarius, which is air. And Mercury trining Pluto, this is like a moment of grace, a real ability to maybe even intuit, but at least express very simply and very easily in a straightforward way what's coming up from your gut, expressing ourselves from our heart, expressing ourselves from what our intuition is telling us. So for me on Tuesday, that Mercury trine Pluto guidance is just to trust your intuition, to trust your gut, especially when it comes about the things that you need to say.
I agree. And Mercury and Pluto. So is Pluto the ancient ruler of Scorpio or the current ruler of Scorpio?
Okay. Current.
Okay. Modern ruler. Okay. Modern. Thank you. I was looking for that. So I have Mercury in Scorpio. So Mercury and Pluto, same, right? Am I correct?
Right.
Because
very similar. Yes.
Well,
yes.
So when you and I were talking about the upcoming week, and I wrote down Mercury and Gemini converses with Neptune and Aries, and then I wrote Mercury trine Pluto, and you're talking about trusting your gut. And I want to add to that, like, trust your gut, especially if you're in a place where you're dredging up emotional gunk. Like when you're really getting real about the situation, you're having to tell that to someone, you're having to say that to someone. It might come with some embarrassment or whatever. But this Mercury in Pluto says, like, for me, it says it's time to do away with that, not asking for help. It's a time to do away with not using our voice to say what it is that we need, and not just say what we need, but I don't know. Sometimes we can say what we need, but not in a real way, like not in a way that we know how to fix it or that we see a way to fix it. And I think that this is these are going to be some really deep conversations that we have with ourselves or with other people, especially people that are close to us. And I believe that we can listen to and hear anything that anybody has to say to us without judgment, so we can be of support. And I think Gemini says that we
Yes.
can be two ways about it. Like, you can think one thing about it. It doesn't mean you have to say it, and it doesn't mean that you have to withdraw your support of that person. Okay, like what you think about it
Mhm.
is none of their business. Okay, so
Right.
just be open and
Yeah.
receptive, ready to have that conversation, and ready for that conversation to be deep. It may even be
Yeah.
just a little bit surprising, but it's really important that we react in a way that will help us,
Mhm.
that Saturn and Aries, to push it forward and not just kind of continue to lay in it to try to figure out what to do with it. Because we know now what to do with
Right.
it. We've been wallowing in
Right.
it for quite some time now. And it's either like we feel that energy to change it now, or we're going to stay in it for the next however long. So I hope that it is that
Right.
you're rising and wanting to you see the things and you're honest about the things and you want to make those changes that are being supported right now. Top.
Mhm. Yeah, I kind of liken this to, for some reason in my mind, I'm likening this to like cleaning the hair clog out of the drain. Okay, like we've got to allow this communication to flow freely. We've got to be authentic. We've got to express ourselves on, a deeper and more meaningful level. And it should be easy to do, but you have to be willing to put that little effort in and say, let me get this crap out of the way so that this emotion and information can flow
And
freely.
ego. Like we
And
got to get rid of
ego.
that
Right.
ego, that worry about what other people think about us. Like, I know our generation, Gen
Mhm.
X, like we are so concerned about what other people think about us because we had a lot of bullies in our lives, from parents down. And I'm not saying other people don't, but it was just like a time of that. So, yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. Okay, so that's tomorrow. And then, going on into Wednesday, the moon moves on to Cancer. The moon is at home in Cancer. That is the moon's rulership. In our private lives, the moon is about our private lives, our homes, and our private experiences and our intimate relationships. Not necessarily our romantic relationships, just like the people that we keep close to us. So, that at that point, the moon will be waxing crescent, and we will be very much about the home for a couple of days. It's a great time in the waxing crescent just to be thinking about what it is that you intend to do over the next couple of weeks, starting to talk about it, lay the plans. We don't have to be like in the action of making things happen just yet, especially on Wednesday and Thursday and part of Friday. If you're feeling that home vibe of staying home, of nurturing yourself, nourishing yourself, and again, those people that you keep close, and again, your home and your body, then that's a great vibe for Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And then on Friday, the moon moves on in the afternoon into Leo. And when the moon is in Leo, they say it's our time to shine. They're like, be brilliant, be your beautiful, glorious, stylish, fashionable, outgoing self. And that applies. But another thing that Leo brings me around to, another thing that I should not have looked over there at the chat. The other thing that brings me around to that Leo brings me around to is rulership or leadership. Okay, and when the moon is in Leo, it is not an easy fit, and it is something that we have to, I think, sort of step up and take responsibility for those things that we are supposed to have leadership for in our personal lives. Okay, so when we're in intimate relationships and when we're just in close relationships, those things that we have to take care of at home, those things that we have to take care of with our own body. Sometimes we just have to take the reins and say, okay, I'm the one who says how this is going to happen. And so I'm going to make this happen. Okay. So that's leadership at home, leadership in your relationships. Not saying that, we have to be like one of us has to be the leader in any relationship, but that we all have responsibilities for certain things in our relationships and in our home. So when the moon is in Leo, to me, that's about sort of doing what it takes to show that you're taking responsibility for that.
Right.
And then on Sunday. So we've moved through the week pretty quickly because there's not a whole lot of significant astrology. But Sunday, the moon is still in Leo, June 1st, when Venus meets up in the sky with Chiron. And you can see in the chart over there, if you look on the left side of the chart, you can see the little Aries symbol. And right next to it, you can see Venus and Chiron together. And, Venus is about receiving, it's about attracting, it's about, what you like, love, and can't get enough of, and how am I going to call that in? And Chiron, especially Chiron and Aries, Chiron is about wounds that we're trying to heal, problems we're trying to solve, long-standing rifts that we would like to mend either in our bodies, hearts, minds, relationships, lives, communities. Okay. And especially in Aries, Chiron and Aries is about wounds of the childhood. So on Sunday, these are energies that are combined and under pressure. And so it's sort of like, I want that healing. I would like to receive that healing. I would like to have this problem solved. I need this problem to be solved. And when you realize there's a problem that needs to be solved, often you can get out and start looking for the solution. So that is the whole coming week in astrology.
I know I had a lot to say about this moon in Leo. Show up and show out and be fabulous and take responsibility for your leadership roles. And I want to say leadership looks different in every relationship. And I know Mel touched on that a little bit, but maybe it is that you have to do it first. Like maybe it is that you have to start it and be an example to show and be honest about your trials and tribulations with it. So I'm just going to say, like, I have to heal an eating problem that I have. And it's deeper than I ever thought that it was. And so I'm taking steps to move forward. First of all, it was the knowledge of knowing what I can and can't eat. There are allergies that I had to narrow down. And then I had to figure out how much it is, because I'm not as active as I'd like to be because I'm a disabled person and I have inflammation issues. Then I have to take account for this and how much protein and how much sugar and, like how less salt, all of those things. So I figured all of that out, and now it's putting it into motion. So I've gone through something already that I have to start pushing and going through now, like in a real way, in order to fine tune it a little bit. And my experience doing that is really important to share with someone who might be going through that same struggle, because it's not going to be perfect. It's never going to be perfect. It's never going to be perfect. And it doesn't matter what other people think about what you're doing. If you have to go to the restaurant and ask for all the things on the side or ask for nothing, like just ask for this without this, do it. They're used to it. Everybody's got their ways of eating. But so being in a leadership role means a lot to a lot of different things. And for a lot of us, it's just figuring out, like that maybe we were natural born leaders and we're figuring out in our communities or in our friend groups or wherever it is that we're touching that we have something in common there and that we can lend to the bigger goal, So we'll see when it's time to stand up. Mel and I are oldest children, so we are the natural line leaders. We are the ones who were put in charge even when we didn't want to, even when we were scared, even when we didn't know what the hell was going on. So it's natural for us to step up. And I think that for years, Mel and I have been trying to figure out where it is that we can step up. And so we figured out that, we need to step up in our own personal lives, but we also realized, looking around us and our friends that we've had for years, that we also had to step up and be a better friend to our friends, because if we weren't taking very good care of ourselves, then we weren't taking very good care of our other partnerships and our other relationships. So I think this is a really cleansing vibe to have going into the week. I think there's going to be a lot of conversations, a lot of new businesses, like just new alliances coming out, and speak your heart, speak the deep truth, lay it all out there. Like, I have this great idea, but I have zero money and I have zero family that's going to give me money. And I have nobody that has billions of dollars. And, but I've got this idea, and just keep telling people about it until somebody says, hey, I see that. Let's talk about it. That's the kind of energy I feel
Yeah.
like is going into this week and ending up next weekend. And that Venus meets Chiron and Aries to me is about, loving yourself through it. Like loving yourself through the healing and allowing yourself to have that healing and finding the beauty in the healing. Like the healing is not always it's not always, rainbows and kittens. Okay. But we can get through it. And this moon in Virgo, it's about getting down to the details. So we're going to start and stop a couple of times, but we're going to have a main base, a really good base to start from right now. And as long as we're able to open up and talk, we got this.
Yeah.
And I think
I wanted to come back to that thing you were saying about leadership and relationships too. This is probably something you're going to have a whole hour talk on by itself. Sometimes showing up as a leader in your relationship with somebody, any person, not just your romantic relationships, sometimes showing up as a leader, like Jennifer said, is like by setting an example. Like, okay, I see that you want to do this. I need to do this as well. We're gonna set an example for one another and support each other in that way. And sometimes it's just offering somebody a hand up, a hand over, a hand out. Okay. I remember when our friend Jennifer was complaining one time about how, like these women will have little kids in the store and they're crying. And, like this woman's got like 4 kids and she can't, keep track of them all, let alone take care of the little one that's crying. And our friend Cindy said, well, why don't you go see if you can help that person out? Like she's clearly overwhelmed. So, if you feel comfortable, if you feel safe to do that, definitely notice if something is making you feel irritable, how much more irritable it must be for a person that's in the situation. and if you're allowed to help them, if you ask if you can help them and they say yes, then just go ahead and try to like, hey, I'll hold your baby for a minute while you take care of this other thing.
I've watched a cart for somebody before while she ran and changed a diaper with 2 other kids in the cart, just like, can you stay here and make sure my kids don't wreck the place or hurt themselves, or you know what I mean? So that was really valuable advice. And I want to say, on the heels of this week and what we're talking about, I love the vibe of communication, because communication, as soon as you speak it, it's manifested, right? And the more of us that speak the same things and we're talking about the same things, the more that can manifest, right? So last weekend, or actually maybe it was yesterday, I'm not quite sure. There was a neo-Nazi march in downtown Kansas City. They left in U-Haul trucks, and the KCPD, escorted them out. I mean, probably escorted them in, but escorted them out. I've never been to a protest where the cops have safely escorted me off of the protest, or, like that's never, ever happened to me. And there was so much security surrounding these neo-Nazis, and they're wearing fucking masks and they're not showing themselves. And they've got a neo-Nazi on top of the Cheesecake Factory, and they got a neo-Nazi standing on top of our beautiful buildings on the plaza. Okay. Like where people on the weekends, like that is tourist attraction. It is someplace that we like right now we have.
And they got guys with guns standing up there, like protecting their right to be bigots.
Right. And so while I do understand free speech, and I do think that they can protest if they want to, I know it's hate, and I know it's not okay for other people to see. And unless we change something about that, that is unfortunately free speech. But I think that what it's done is it's created a little bit of a spark with people in the city that had to see that were out shopping. My friends were out shopping and seeing a sniper on the building and not knowing why. Like that's scary as hell right now. But I do see on all of these posts that a lot of people are talking about what to do. Like even if it's oust the mayor, you want to oust the mayor, go sit in his spot. Like when it's time for a meeting, he's not there, go sit in his chair. Like really, so I see that maybe this is going to fuel some meetings for next weekend, perhaps. And people are going to talk about how they really felt about that, how Black and brown people or Jewish people or anybody who's not a white man really felt yesterday when they were walking through Kansas City, And seeing this happen and seeing our government, protect them, which is not unusual. Okay. But this is going to be a bigger debate, a bigger conversation with some action taking place, I promise. And this week says that is the kind of stuff that we've got going on, right? Right. So if you need to have a team meeting with your team because they're not pulling up their numbers, then have that this week and ask them, what's up? What do we need to do? What do we need to change? What do we need to transform? And then do it. Go team.
Go team. Okay, so shall we move on into our tarot card portion of the day?
I guess so. This has kind of been a quick astrology week, and I've been trying to keep a little quiet. So if you're here joining us and you see us, if you know your big three in astrology, we'd love to see them down here in the chat. If you know your sun sign or your birthday and you'd like to know your sun sign, we can tell you that too. But we're going to start the tarot card portion of this. And Mel, what are we looking at here? What are we drawing on?
Okay, well, what I'm seeing in this week is a lot of Mercury Gemini action. And Gemini is the twins. It's the double, right? I'm making this up as I go along, right as we speak. But I really think that it should be sort of like communication and, right? Like Mercury is about our thoughts, plans, and communications. And then those other outer planets are about bigger things like responsibility, security, spirituality, and fundamental change. So, and definitely, there's a lot of new stuff happening because a lot of these planets are newly in their signs. So how about what's coming in that's new and what's going out that's new?
Okay. So because we have a little bit of extra time, will you do just will you draw cards on that in a general way? And then I'll draw cards on that in like a love way? Like, what did you say? What's coming in?
It's really just what's coming in, what's going out.
So we'll do that as a general read for you, and then I'll just draw the same cards for a love read. Okay, a career, and then I'll just use my Crystal Visions Tarot and do the same thing coming in and coming out. How about that?
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so in general for this week, what is coming in? What can we be receptive to? What can we be open to? What can we be just alert to coming toward us at this time? All right, friends, that is the Five of Pentacles. And what that means is if you're going without something, you need to ask for help. And especially if it's something you need, okay, if you're going without a bill being paid, rent being paid, shoes on your feet, food in your fridge, you need to ask for help. And if you know somebody who is going without, we need to find a way to materially support us, okay? Human beings are just animals. We have needs. We got to have our hierarchy of needs met. And when we don't, we need support. Nobody does everything that we have. We don't have what we have by ourselves. We don't get what we have by ourselves. We all need some help from time to time.
If in your gut you feel like a neighbor, cousin, brother, sister, friend, or someone might be struggling, or, I'm struggling, not sending texts to people that I know are struggling. But, it's really as simple as, hey, do you have something to eat today? Or,
Right.
I don't know. But I've been known to just send a pizza over to somebody's house, so yeah,
Right.
But please
ask them what they're having.
Please ask for that help. And if somebody does send you that text and says, hey, do you have anything to eat? And you don't, say, no, I don't. And then tell them what you'd like. Really, really, really get your basic needs taken care of. Okay.
Yeah. 100. Okay, so that's what's coming in, is an opportunity to ask for help, to notice where there is need, and to step up in the way that you need to make sure that those needs are met. And I'm going to shuffle another moment here while I focus on what is leaving us this week. What is going out the door? What can we say goodbye to, bid a fond farewell to, or just be aware is moving away from us? The Taurus apart. I see that. Okay, what's moving away from us? So, Eight of Pentacles. It's almost like we've been in a learning and preparation phase, and now we're about to be ready. Okay. The Eight of Pentacles, this person is like an apprentice and they are practicing at something, trying to get really good at it. And so if this is in the position of what's leaving us, it's sort of like putting that, what is that? Training season's over. Dua Lipa has a song called Training Season is Over. And that's what this makes me think of, is like, okay, we're putting the lessons that we've learned, not well, to good use, but also just to put them behind us. We know what we know now, and we can move forward.
Right. And that practice that we used to do in a repetitive way may have been what got us into this. Okay. Whatever this is, like maybe it is it's broken down your body, maybe it is it's just made you depressed because all you do is go to work and that's all you do over and over and over again. So maybe it is that it's time that we, what's going out is the way that we work, the way in which we, do things even in our everyday life, but really what we do for our munties and how we support ourselves.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. That labor side of work, that hard work side of work, which, is required in the world. Everybody has to work hard from time to time. That's how we get things done. But if you've really been at the grind, it's time to start thinking about how we can do things smarter instead of harder.
Yes, absolutely. And, like these last few months, I feel like we've been evaluating our relationship with what we do and what brings us joy and pleasure. And even in our work, like you should still be happy and healthy and everything in your workplace, So that's why a lot of us are opting to work from home, to be in the comfort of our own home, the comfort of our own bathroom, where we're not bullied by micromanagers or other people there that are trying to get on, to rise to the top. The competition, it just sucks.
And then the other thing I'm getting from this is, that it's okay now to lean on your expertise. You do know what you think you know about a certain subject. So, don't sell yourself short and say, oh, I don't have a lot of experience. If you know what you know, then you know it and you can share it. It has value.
Yeah, it kind of sounds like the conversation I had with you, like, oh, I think that you should, do this teaching thing instead of working so hard for,
Yes.
It is really about, trying to figure out what the next, for me, I'm trying to figure out the next 30 years. I'm 52, 30 years would be 82. That's a lot of change, that can happen. There's a lot that can happen out there, but that's kind of what I'm, looking toward. I don't know why I said all that stuff, but
it's what comes up in the intuitive process.
Thank you. It just kind of comes up and I spit it out. Well, that doesn't sound very good either.
So what's coming up in the love lives of the people who watch
right.
Let's just skip right over
I am
that.
about to do a love tarot reading. We're going to do what's coming in for love. First of all, like, is love coming in? I guess would be the best question to ask with that one. Let's see here. So
that's a nice yes or no
yeah,
question.
it is. I have my Crystal Visions tarot cards, and the first card that I've chosen is the Page of Cups. And I like the Page of Cups. I think the Page of Cups has gone through and really healed themselves and has figured out a way that they like for things, the way that they like to emote what feels comfortable and soothing and supportive and protective. And I think that they've figured that out with themselves. You can see, like, they've got their good juju in the basket, right? Like, they're placing everything. And so I would say that, yes, this is love coming in. And yes, here we go. Definitely love coming in. And this is kind of mimicking something that I was saying yesterday in a reading. I feel like right now, if love comes in, it may just be kind of quick and fiery. A lot of us are still here with the Page of Cups. We're still, manifesting. We're still trying to figure out how we feel about things, even though we do have it, we have it outlined. And we're also becoming used to this new way forward, this new way of being, this new way of feeling that we figured out after blank happened. Like there's a lot of healing that's taking place here. And so I feel like, yes, there's some love coming in, but just don't mistake the love for lust. Okay. There's a big difference. And I think there's a lot of lust out there, like Saturn and Aries, air and fire. Like, I think that means I could probably talk anybody into anything that was willing to go, if the flame is already hot and going. So if you don't want to, say no. Consent is sexy. If you want to, ask. And just know that this might be quick.
Yeah, currently on the chart, Venus and Mars are still trine, which is a very graceful state of being together for these sort of archetypal lovers, and they're both in fire signs. So it is kind of a lusty, heated sort of interaction with our intimate partners. There is more opportunity for like a sexual or lusty thing to come up. And we don't want to make the mistake of thinking that because we've lusted after somebody, we're in love with them.
Right. All right. So that's what's coming in. I do believe some love. I do believe if you're looking for, just, some sexy times with someone, that's a possibility too. But I think we're going to really kind of keep it close to our chest right now. We're going to roll with it, but it's still coming. And I really feel like it's something that when the love comes in, it's going to strike you as, oh, this is something that I really like about a person. All right. And then what's going out, right, for love? Like, so what are we not putting up with in our love lives anymore this week? The Queen of Wands. So when I turn that over, I think of we're not dealing with anyone telling us what to do, first of all. And I don't know what that means.
I want to say, I think that it has to do with, in a relationship, there is a couple and there are two individuals. Okay. And, a couple has to be able to support those individuals having their own lives and their own power to do whatever it is that they need to do. But as a fire sign, I can say that sometimes an individual makes a choice that impacts the couple and they do it impulsively. And then it is a negative impact on the couple. Okay. So the communication comes out again. It's like, let me talk this over with you. Do you think that we can, do you think that it will work for us to make these plans instead of those plans?
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
Instead of just like, well, I can do whatever I want because I'm a grown-ass human being and I'm just going to do whatever I want.
And that's, I mean, we had that conversation. We had to have a conversation about something like we're not the best at communicating with each other. And I think that's fine. Sometimes you just want to go and do something and it's not like you have to tell anybody. But yeah, I agree with you on this. And something else that's going out is maybe it is that we're always the quote unquote aggressor. Maybe it is that we're the ones who are always trying to start things. And maybe it is that we have to lay off and allow the other person to start things. Maybe that's the key to, having a better love life, a better sex life, a better communicative life. This is still about, how we're communicating. And so If you're coming in real hot all of the time, it's a little overwhelming sometimes, especially for someone who, there's a million and one reasons why someone might not want to, get a little frisky or have sex. You know what I mean? Even in a relationship or even in a brand new relationship, we're all just kind of hung up on our hangups sometimes. So maybe it is that if you're normally the aggressor, you're the person that goes after someone, maybe it is that you just kind of hang back this time. You have some conversation and see what happens rather than just going full force, going for the, hey, you want to stay with me tonight kind of thing.
Yeah.
Converse about it.
This is also coming back to our little conversation about leadership and relationships, because relationships are, ideally, a meeting of two equal people with different thoughts, feelings, skill sets, etc. So, you can be a take charge kind of person, and sometimes people really appreciate that, but you still have to allow the friendship, the relationship to develop, not just according to what you want from it, but, according to what the other person wants from it.
Absolutely. As well. Thank you for saying that. So yeah, it looks like a good week for love. It looks like a good week to, communicate about love. It looks like there's some love or some sex coming in. Maybe you've got some free time and, maybe it's the weekend and people are out of town. I don't know. So, if you find that opportunity and it works for you, then go for it. But yeah. So yeah. I think with that probably wraps up our show for today. It's only 10:45. It seems so odd to be wrapping up already, but there's always a reason for that. So thank you so much to everyone who's joined us today. We really appreciate you more than you know. The best way that you can support our channel is by subscribing to our channel. By commenting when you see us go live, hit that notification bell because we go live. I like to go live just kind of willy-nilly, so I don't like to always just,
Yeah, not all of these videos are planned, but if you like watching Jennifer's sweet cheeks, you should definitely be notified.
Right. And then, so Mel will be back tomorrow, which will actually be a rerun of this show. So if you missed the very beginning about the astrology of the week, then this is your chance to catch up on that. And on Wednesday and Friday, she'll also be releasing more astrology. On Thursday, we do Yes or No Tarot Showdown at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. So you can bring your yes or no question. A lot of love questions, a lot of career questions we've had, but any question is great. Type it into the chat and we'll answer it with tarot. We've been keeping up with psychic hits, and Mel has been having psychic hits, like she's been guessing things through tarot in the chat. And it's been quite interesting because it gives a little bit more power and push to your reading. So
yes,
anyway, we do lots of live stuff on here, and on Saturdays I've been experimenting at 3 p.m. I'm doing the big 3 and me. So if you know your big 3 and you want a tarot reading or you want to have a conversation about it so I can learn astrology, please join me in that chat so I can learn, and maybe you can learn a little something too. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and we appreciate you so much.
Yes, thank you for being here. We'll catch you all in the next video.
Take care.